Okay, so we'll look at the essay on getting married later on. Okay, so these days it is normally found that most people delay getting married and having kids till they are past their 20s. I'm not sure if it is most people actually. I think you could say that some people, or many people, but I'm not sure that it is actually most. Okay, I think of it from a neutral point of view. This essay will discuss both points using examples from the British Medical Journal and the Wales Online News Agency. And one thing I'd say, the introduction is very, very important, and we always look at the thesis statement when we're marking an essay to really understand the viewpoint. And you've simply said, I think of it from a neutral point of view. I think you could clarify that a little bit, maybe develop that argument a little bit more. I mean, for example, you could say, I see this, or I take a neutral approach on this, as I think it depends on the individual maturity of the people concerned. Something like that. I would just expand it a little bit because, thesis statements are so important. So to simply just say, I think of it from a neutral point of view, as I say, it needs to be developed a little bit more. Okay, many youngsters these days are found... Okay, you've used the expression found again, as in the first... okay, so many youngsters these days are found to be reluctant to settle down with a partner and have, I wouldn't use kids, it's very informal in an essay, an IELTS essay, so I would actually say children, and have children until at least they are in their 30s. Okay. And you'd actually have to have a subject there, and have children until they are at least in their 30s. Okay. The main reason for this is that nowadays more people are career orientated and they prefer to establish themselves professionally before having a family. Good point and good sentence. Okay. For instance, Wales Online published that people who had their, again, should be children, had their children at a younger age were found... You do repeat this word found quite a lot, so there is a bit of repetition there, but okay, so were found mostly stressing over financial matters. Okay, so again, if you're using this word found, so people who had their children at a younger age were found to be mostly stressing over financial matters. And not and which, you'd say, and this in some cases led to abandoning children or abandoning their children, homelessness, broken up families, and sometimes families with no food in the house. Okay, fine. People who got married at a later age also had a low divorce rate and were found happier compared to those who had families at an earlier age. You need an article. And remember, if you've got a singular countable noun, you need to have something before, a determiner, either an article or a pronoun. Okay. Therefore, marrying in your 30s can be taken as a positive development. Okay, that's fine. Some good points there, actually. However, getting married and having children at an older age can have dire consequences. Dire is very, very strong. I think I probably would say serious consequences. The most common problems are health implications of having a baby in your 30s. You do have to use a pronoun there because otherwise 30s could be like the 1930s, because we often say the 70s, the 80s. So to make it clear, you're talking about an age range, so in your 30s. For example, the British Medical Journal. Now, you've given examples from two sources, but you haven't provided any dates. It's always better to give a date, okay? Because, that's very relevant. We need to see that it's up to date. So, for example, the British Medical Journal published a study which mentioned that women who delayed having kids, you need the gerund there, delayed having kids, were more prone to infertility. Okay. The study also suggested that the older a mother is, the higher are the chances of, okay, that you don't need to say, you could put this in a much more concise way, that the older a mother is, the higher are the chances of her having breast cancer. Okay. Sometimes it is also seen that youngsters find it hard to meet with a compatible partner when they are in their 30s, again you need a pronoun, and financially stable. And this can lead to depression and a feeling of loneliness, because loneliness is singular there, so a feeling of loneliness. Okay, that's good. Okay, so good arguments actually. In conclusion, one should ponder upon their individual circumstances to decide what course of action they should take when it comes to making a family. Yes. In my opinion, this trend is neither, you put food, I think that's just a typo for good or bad. I think to make it more formal, you could say it's neither positive nor negative. And one should think, not moderately, I think one should think carefully, is a much more suitable word there. One should think carefully when making a vital decision like this. Okay, yes, that's good. Okay, a clear conclusion. Yes, overall, it's absolutely fine. You've decided to take a neutral position, which is okay. But as I said, I think you should expand a little bit and clarify a little bit more in your introduction and provide a very, very specific thesis statement. But you have provided examples to support both sides of both viewpoints, and you've answered the question. Okay, so well done. Okay, so now we'll have a look at the description of rainfall in the line chart at rainfall in England, Scotland and Wales in 2018. The first thing I want to say about this is that you've summarised as much data as you can, which actually makes it quite hard and boring to read. I'm going to be honest. I think what would have made it far more interesting is if you had highlighted key and significant differences between these countries, or the more significant features, and commented on them. I mean, for example, what I find most noticeable about this chart is that England has more moderate changes, whereas Scotland has very dramatic changes. I mean, you can see the fluctuation for rainfall in Scotland really does dramatically fluctuate. I mean, from February to its lowest amount, and then immediately in March to a peak. So very sharp changes. Whereas if you look at the English one, the purple line, it's far more moderate and less dramatic in the changes. So, I mean, I would have highlighted key points like that, which are interesting. So don't feel you have to describe every little piece of data. Very hard for an examiner to read something like that, and they're going to be more impressed if you actually highlight key or interesting or important or significant facts that can be taken from the chart. I mean, yes, you have to summarize the main important stuff, but to go for everything like you have done, it means you know, it's hard to read, and it also means you haven't really shown a real holistic understanding or general understanding of the general trends or patterns, which really is quite important. Okay, so now let's just have a look at each sentence. In January 2000, the line chart shows rainfall in millimetres in England, Scotland and Wales in 2018, that's fine. In January 2018, rainfall in England was 110 millimetres and rainfall in Scotland was 120. Okay, you put a lot of information in this first sentence. Compared to these two, Wales had only 50 millimetres of rainfall only. I think what I would do is have a full stop after in Scotland was 120 millimetres, full stop. Compared to these two, Wales, okay, then that's fine. So put a full stop there. Or alternatively, you could have a comma and use whereas. So you could say rainfall in Scotland was 120 millimetres, whereas in Wales, or whereas Wales only had around 50 millimetres of rainfall. So you could connect that information better with whereas. Okay. And remember, if you're going to put in so much information in one sentence, you need to connect your ideas with linking words or conjunctions. Okay. February saw an increase in rainfall for England, reaching up to 120 millimetres. Okay, you've done your linking here. Whereas Scotland saw a sharp decrease with only 20 millimetres. Wales also had more rainfall with 70 millimetres recorded. Okay, that's fine. In March, the data showed a decrease of rainfall to 90 millimetres for England. However, rainfall in Scotland took a steep climb to reach its highest point of the year, 130, and Wales came back to 50 millimetres again. That's fine. England was recorded to have rainfall of 100 in April, and from there it continued to drop throughout May and recorded the least amount of rainfall in June with only 75 millimetres. Okay. Rainfall then increased to reach a maximum for the year for England in July with 130, which dropped down to 90 millimetres in August, comma, but then rose back to 130 millimetres in September. Commas are very important because they help you understand and follow a sentence, so please remember them. December also saw 130 millimetres rain in England. Rain poured down in Scotland. I wouldn't put it like that. Rain poured down in Scotland in April was only, grammatically it'd have to be rain pouring down, but I would just say rainfall in Scotland in April was only 30. And so again, linking your ideas, and from there it continued to rise to reach 110 in July, and from August onwards it remained between 130 and onwards, and was recorded at 100. Okay, the reason I'm reading like that is because you've just put so much information in one sentence. Really hard for the reader. I would divide that into two sentences. Okay. You could just put, say, full stop, finally it was recorded at 105 millimetres in December, or at the end of the year, just start a new sentence. Wales noticed least rain in April. I wouldn't use the verb noticed. You could say experienced or had. Wales experienced the least rain in April at 30 millilitres, and and in most of July at 130, and then went down to under 50 and plateaued for 3 months from August till October. Again, I would use a different word, finally finishing at 50 in December, okay, instead of just having and. Again, you've put a lot of information in one sentence, not that easy for the reader. I would put the information in that sentence into two, okay, and I would use some words to help clarify, like finally, just to help understanding of the sentence. Overall, the amount of rainfall was markedly different from each other in all the three countries. Okay, you'd have to say the amount of rainfall was markedly different between each of the three countries in the UK. Okay, that's quite a general statement. It's absolutely fine. But I would have, as I said, I would have liked you to highlight the key trends. So think about trends that you can see and patterns that you can see. I mean, the very obvious trend, as I mentioned before, was much milder fluctuation in England and much more dramatic fluctuation in Scotland. So yeah, try and pick out some interesting features, some interesting trends, and highlight those. Don't feel you have to say every little piece of information. It just makes a piece of writing quite difficult to read. As long as you've summarised the key points, the main points, and highlighted interesting facts, that's much better. Makes it for a better, more interesting piece of writing. Okay, but overall it's fine.